Hello retro fans! Today I'm going to have a more, let's say, easy session, and it's more for the pleasure, especially for myself and I guess for you as well, because I have received something, and this is some kind of surprise. So, well, I'm aware that I was going to receive this, so basically that's not so surprisingly, but that's something I found by, let's say, coincidence or by accident, or it wasn't really my intention to get it. And as the title has already spoiled, it's going to be a Famicom. And to those who are not aware what the Famicom is, that's basically the Japanese or the Asia version of the Nintendo Entertainment System. And I found this on some kind of an online flea market for a very low price, surprisingly low price. And I'm really interested in to see whether it is working and if it's in good condition, and how are those Asian games are, well, to play, if I'm going to understand anything at all. And that's going to be in a 60 Hz, 60 FPS system. Therefore, I had to change my setup a little bit. And I think let's move on and have a look at this. And in the meantime, if you have not yet done so, then feel free to subscribe to my channel or even join the channel membership while watching the intro. And we will see what I have on my desk in a few seconds. And as usual, let's jump straight to the desk and see what's there. As you can see, I have changed the view angle a bit because we're going to need some space for unboxing this surprisingly small parcel. I was really a little bit concerned whether I got what I have ordered, but we will see that the Famicom is indeed smaller than the standard NES. And well, let's move on. So, as you can see, it came with a bunch of games, and I'm really looking forward to the games with all those Asian-like Japanese pictures on it. This looks indeed like a Dragon Ball, and you may not aware of this, but I was kind of Dragon Ball fan about, let me guess, 15, 16 years ago. So I watched the whole Dragon Ball series, Dragon Ball GT, and I was really a very, very huge fan of it. I had posters and all that stuff, and I even started to fly. No, that's just kidding. Anyway, so yeah, just well, this looks like Super Mario Bros. And even stands here. Okay. And then we got Sky Destroyer. And one thing you may have recognized already, the cartridge format is different as well. So the Famicom is using a different connector. Famicom stands for Family Computer, not Nintendo Entertainment System. I have no idea why they changed this. And this looks a little bit like whatever, pirate dish or something like this. We will hopefully see. Then we got the Konogumarabe. Never heard of this one. And then we got something with horses. And then we got something that looks perhaps like Mahjong or Mahjong, or however you're going to pronounce this. And a little bit noisy. Making progress. Even more games. something I can read. Baseball, that was easy. I have no idea. Looks a bit Lego-ish, I have to say, with some armor, maybe some battle game or something. And Mahjong again, or that is Mahjong. I have no idea. Hold on, Mahjong. I should have googled this before. I'm sorry. And here it is, the Famicom itself. So let's get rid of the box. And let's place it on the desk. And it's oriented like this. And as you can see, it has some kind of space for storing the controllers. And it has a very different design. So let me grab my NES. And I can find it. Not so small, I should find it. Just got the open version here. I thought I had a closed one as well, somewhere around. Well, so I can just show you how the case looks like. And how an open NES looks like. Let's get rid of the cable. So that's basically the top of a Nintendo Entertainment System. And as you can see, you can easily put two of those Famicoms into a standard NES, almost. But yeah, I have no idea why they made the NES so huge and then went on to produce something smaller. But well, yeah, let's have a look if this is working. So it looks like the controllers are connected to the Famicom without any chance to remove them. And we're going to need some power. And it's not stated anywhere how to power the Famicom. So I may do some quick googling on this before I plug in a standard NES power supply. Famicom PSU AC adapter Famicom World. Definitions: input voltage. So they explain basically it is important to understand and be able to read these definitions when using an AC adapter. Note: the original NES PSU has an output voltage of 9 volt AC. This means that it outputs alternating current, not direct current, and will damage your Famicom. Okay, now that we know this, that the original adapter isn't working, we need an adapter that's probably not going to kill our Famicom. And for this it would be nice to understand what kind of voltage it is expecting. Output 10 volt DC, 850 milliamperes. Okay. So this is indeed a little bit sad that I haven't got an original power supply for this one. So we're going to need a 10 volt power supply. And this is something I have to look for. That's not something I have on my desk right now. So let's pause that thingy for a while, and I'll be back in a minute. Oops, it's recording already. So I'm back again, and as you can see, I have switched my view already because I'm brave enough to connect my Famicom to my power supply I have found. It's an adjustable power supply, and it's very comfortable because the Famicom has a different polarity on its plug. So usually you have on the barrel outside G&D, and on the inside you got the hot end voltage plus whatever you have selected. But for the Famicom it is the opposite, so we got ground in the middle and voltage or power on the outside. And one tricky thing with adjustable power supplies is that they output usually a lot of more volt than we need. And as you can see, it's already on, now you can't see it, 11.2 something. And I set the power supply to 6 volt right now. Because, no, that's too steep. This may work. Because there's no load, basically. So it's dropping a little bit. And anyway, the issue is I have actually nothing what I can connect to. I got a small resistor here. Let's see if this is going to work. Or if it's going to go up in flames immediately. Now we got 8 point something volt. Maybe the load isn't big enough. But that's something we can start with because the Famicom is requiring 10 volt. I think there's some sort of tolerance, so I expect to work this at 9 volt or something like this. So we are close to this. And we can even keep track of the voltage as we go and connect this to the Famicom. But before we do so, we may have to do some wiring, some cabling, and let's switch back to this view. And I picked, as I said, I think already, the RetroTink, because this should be able to handle our video signal quite good. So, and fortunately this Famicom is modded already, as I said, with FBAS, composite output, and stereo. I assume it's not real stereo, it's 2 times mono audio, so we are not going to need any adapter or something like this. And indeed, before we can power up this whole thing, we're going to need a game. So let's pick the first from the stack. And this is something I really like compared to the NES. You just put this on top and then you're basically ready to go. And then you have this nice slider that pushes the cartridge out of the Famicom. And in my opinion, this is a much better construction than the NES. Except perhaps for the fact that if you are a lazy guy, remove the cartridge and move away, then it is not protected. So you really have to close the lid. And perhaps it makes sense to build this in a way that it is kind of snappy, that we have a small spring in it or something like this. So you may need 2 hands to insert the cartridge then, but as soon as you remove them, it will fall down. But, well, it's from the 80s, and maybe people were much more carefully with the stuff. But let's see and get this fired up. So I really want to have a kind of control, so I want to have an eye on my voltage. So we got 9 volt now, and it's not powered on. So let's switch to the Famicom view and let's power it on. So it looks like the voltage is a bit too low now. Then let's crank this up one bit. $10.9, probably a little bit too much, but let's see if it drops when we switch it on. So we're at 8.9. Let's see if we have a stable operation, but we can see it is doing something already. I'm not so sure about the sound, so that's probably something we have either to wait for, or there's no sound right now. So let's just keep this here. I have no clamp for it. It's a little bit uncomfortable right now. Let's see whether we can kind of misuse this one. I'll probably end up having this thing in my finger, which would be a kind of painful exercise. Let's go for the next one. That's a bit too big, but maybe it is working as long as we need this. 8.9 something. And then let's grab one controller and see if it is doing something. So I may have detangled this before, but so the controller is obviously a bit smaller than an original NES controller. Not that much. It feels much smaller, but the button layout is basically very similar. May I have a real controller somewhere in my mess? With the tangled cable. Probably going to rip apart my whole stack of stuff. So now we got this 1-to-1, and it is very similar except for the case. And something I really like is that it is shaped differently on the bottom of this controller, because on the original controller, there's that wireless thing, you have some kind of very sharp edge on the bottom of this controller. And depending on your size of hand, or your hand size, or how large or how small your hands are, and how you hold your controller, I tend to have it like this, and then I press this part of the case into my finger, or fingers, 2 of them, and this is going to hurt after a couple of minutes. I'm not a hardcore gamer, so I do not have any protection on my fingers, and therefore I really like that they have changed this, and I can probably demonstrate this to you, because I have printed some here we go. It's just my test PLA material. I've printed a small kind of case where I can put in my original NES controller, and this has an angled edge, and this feels much more comfortable to play with. Unfortunately, this one is a little bit too small, and I got some warping on the edges. So anyway, we were going to play Famicom games. So let's hit start. Still plays with itself. So see this. Nope, this controller isn't doing anything. Let's go for the other one. Oh, we got even a volume slider here. But no start button. A microphone. We can talk to the Famicom. Mysterious, very mysterious. But it is not reacting to our button presses. So let's move to another game and see if we can have some changes there. Let's look what this is going to be. It's very greenish. It has some connector problems. So welcome to the Nintendo world, or to the world of Nintendo. Okay, so at least it is doing something. New game. Whatever it is telling us. I have no idea. I can select something, but I have no idea how to start a game. So maybe we have some button issues here. Maybe it's already a bit too old or something like this. But it's interesting that the controller itself is working. We can change things, but we cannot start the game. Which is a little bit annoying, I have to admit. Then, well, let's move on to the next game. And if this is not working, then I may have to have a look into this controller. Baseball. 1 player, 2 player. Or we really have a voltage issue. And now we got some sound as well. But we still can't play it. Well then, let's be brave and crank up the voltage a little bit. So the power supply is now saying 9 volts, outputting 11 volts. Perhaps a little bit too loud. But the start button is still not working. This is very, very unsatisfactory. And I can see that the volume slider is doing something. And this is indeed the tricky thing, because we can't remove it. So we cannot even go for another one. And since basically the voltage isn't a problem, then let's switch back to 7.5, which equals to 9 something. Which feels much more safer than 11 point something. So yeah, that's indeed a problem, and it looks like I have to do some refurbishment. I'm happy that it is running at all. We have some sound. This looks like a racing game. Let me briefly check the sound. Of course I can't hear it right now. So for this game we do not need a start button. So I'm playing my very first Famicom game. Not very good, I have to admit, but I was never a really good tabletop or top view racer. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so basically I think the start button should kind of activate some pause mode or something like this. Just get rid of this green stuff here. And I think there's indeed some issue with the controller. I mean, let's see whether we can open it. The last time I had some troubles opening NES controller because the screws were so tight. But here it looks like this is going to work. Then let's make some space. Get rid of this one. And we can push back this a little bit. And we can have perhaps a closer look to the controller. So really, I'm very happy that it is working at all, and that I got so many games to test, and I think this controller issue is solvable. I expect that they use the very same technique like they have used for the NES, so that's some kind of serial protocol. So the buttons are not transmitted like it is on the C64 or on the Atari or something like this. We will see a small kind of IC inside. Here it is. And this IC is kind of getting the status of the buttons and sending this one by one or one after each other to the main system. And the main system is kind of requesting the data. It is usually done on VBlank between frames, or it is doing this while drawing a frame and then using the data for the next frame, so something like this. But basically here's nothing I would say that would prevent us from using it. So it's a little bit dusty inside, but not in a surprisingly bad way. And the other buttons were working. So this is indeed a bit strange. I have to clean this a bit better, but for now it should do the trick. And quite hard to see it. It may look like that something was on the controller. So let me have a brief look through my lens. You may see this as well. It looks like there was kind of a small, like a stamp or something like this. So it looks like the button was pressed for a very long time, and perhaps they are kind of connected to each other. So let's see if we can just remove this a bit. Kind of cheap and easy cleaning. So now it looks much better than before. It's out of sight. And let's put it back and hope for the best. Was it like this? I hope so. Oops, screws are falling out. I think we got some alignment problems here. I may have turned this 2 times. Maybe we have to do it like this. Should have remembered it. I need some kind of instant replay for my videos so I can watch how I have dismantled it. But, well, we got it. So, in contrast to the first NES controller I was going to open, the screws are very, very light here. So I assume somebody has already opened it and kind of over tightened the screws. So this feels very, very light, and I'm not sure whether this is even able to hold it together. So I may have to do something with the housing or the case, what we want to call this. And perhaps I have to find some kind of test program to see whether all the buttons are doing what they're supposed to be. Oh, my lens is still blocking the view. Going to fix this in a minute. Let's just get this screw back here. So, this looks quite nice. Then let's turn it on again. We may go for a game where we need start. Yes, it is working. I can press start and this is doing something. Re-practice. Now we have to select this. Okay. Course select. Oh, look at this. How many courses? Suzuka, Brazil, Australia, Italy, Germany. Wow, this is amazing. So I was playing Formula 1 Sensation on the NES quite recently, and I was surprised about the depth of the game. How many courses, and you can even adjust the settings of your car with the wing, front and rear, and the suspension and the tires and all that stuff. So it was really a lot of a game for this console. But, well, yeah, this looks very nice. But let's move on to the other games. I'm really excited to test other games as well. So we couldn't bring up this to life, but maybe with the start button right now, we can start this one. Looks a bit scrambled, so we may have some contact issues with this one. And yeah, no screws on the... Maybe just below this little label. So I have to figure out how to open the cartridge. Then I can do some cleaning. Or I just have to insert it a couple of times. New game. Whatever. Ah, it looks like some role-playing game. Okay. This is going to be very difficult to figure out because I have no idea what the text is saying. And I'm not a role-playing... role-playing... let's call it RPG game. RPG, role-playing game. I'm not an RPG fan at all, so I have absolutely no idea what I have to do here. So I refuse to play this. I hope you don't mind. So we have tested this, and this, and Mahjong was running as well. Let's have a look at the next one. That looks very white. It remains white. So this is perhaps not working. It's grayish. So it looks really like some of the games are not working. Okay, another game I don't understand. This looks like Go or something like this. I'm supposed to do something already? Oh. Okay, I'm black and the computer's white. What I would say is, it looks like I lost. Interesting. Ah, now I'm white. Okay. And it looks like we have to make 4 in a row, which is actually going to be a bit tricky now. So I can't prevent it. And I can't win anymore. No, he's doing something else. That's interesting. I haven't expected this. I thought he's going to set the black piece to here and then... or we have to build horizontal lines? Oh, yeah. Maybe horizontal lines. So, now we're black again. So, I expect to have a white one on the left hand. No. I have no idea what I have to do, I have to admit. So, if you got some ideas, feel free to share it. Let's move on to the next one. Hopefully there's something with some action or so. Some flying and shooting and... not a green screen. Not a black screen. Oh, we have some scrolling. Okay. The Goonies. Oh, I have seen this before. But actually I have no idea what we have to do. It looks like some kind of platform jump and run game. So we can kick, we can jump. Okay, this looks fun. Yes, we have collected something. Oh! I have no idea why we have to kill this cute little... Oh! That's the bad guy, okay. Oh, 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 oh. Oh! That... Oh, looks like a wall. Okay, so at least it is working. I have not really a clue what I have to do here. Ah, it looks like we can plant some bombs. Okay, that's interesting. I can't pick them up, so maybe if I have one, then... Okay, timing is crucial. I got another one. Let's see if we can blow up some walls with it. The bad guy, or whatever guy, I have no idea. Nope. This wall. Ah! Okay. At least it is working. It looks nice, I have to admit. Got some connector problems, so I think this flickering is just a connector issue, so I really have to clean the cartridge. And yeah, as we can see. So, maybe not everybody is aware of this, how a Nintendo Entertainment System or a Famicom works. So basically, you have two main ICs on the board. One is the CPU, which is some kind of 6502 CPU modified. And there's a memory map and some RAM, some working memory. And then the graphic chip has some own memory as well. And then there is the ROM and some RAM on the cartridge. And basically the cartridge is some essential part of the whole system. So if you compare this to a C64, it is kind of similar, but the C64 can work on its own without a cartridge, obviously, because it has a kernel and other things. But the Nintendo Entertainment System is not capable of doing so. It really needs the ROM from the cartridge. So the CPU and the graphic chip is communicating the whole time with this cartridge, and that's the reason why it has so many contacts. And as long as one of the contacts is a bit dirty and there's a bad connection, then we may see kind of graphical glitches like we have in this game, for example, because the CPU or the graphic chip can't access a certain memory area, or it's just getting back some kind of scrambled data because one data bit is missing or something like this. And therefore those systems are so sensitive to dirty connectors up to the point where they don't work at all, as we have seen with other cartridges here already. And this is perhaps some kind of baseball game as well. Select your team. Well, yeah, I'm totally happy with this one. Yeah, it looks like baseball. And as an natural born European guy. I know what baseball is, but I have no idea about the rules or something like this. Okay, so we have to bat the ball, which is approaching us with 124 kilometers per hour. 145. Crazy guy. I will hit it at least once. Ah, too early. Oh no. I have no idea whether I can control something or not, or if it's just running on its own. Yeah! I hit it. Oh! And it's making some progress. Okay. Well, a baseball game. So when I was working for an American company, I was going to America, to Atlanta, Georgia, and usually we traveled on Thursdays. So we traveled to the US on Thursday, and we were working for Friday, and then we had kind of the weekend off, and then we went on working for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, part of Thursday, and then we fly back to Europe. And on those weekends or on the evenings, we were looking for some kind of entertainment. So our colleagues taking us to how do you call this, a baseball studio or something like this. So you had a lot of let's call it small areas with a lot of network around us, and you had some machine, and this machine was throwing balls at you, and we had a chance to test our baseball abilities. And the guy who was running this business there was selecting the lowest speed possible on the machine, and it took us about, I don't know, 40-50 attempts to hit the ball once. And then it was even terrible. And then we were just watching other guys practicing baseball in this kind of what we want to call a studio, and they were doing this with a much higher speed, and the sound and all the force used on this ball was just impressive. And well, we kind of failed miserably. So as you can see, it's not my preferred sport, and as I said, as a natural born European, it is not so common here. So now we got something with a plane, and we have to do some flying and some shooting, and some bombing. Okay, this is probably more what I'm looking for. I'm not going to pretend that I'm that much better with it, but it is not baseball. So they are surprisingly hard to hit. And I have no idea whether we got some kind of mission. We have to accomplish something. Oh, so first I think we need to avoid being hit. Oh, 2 of them. Wow. So maybe some background info about the differences of a PAL system and an NTSC system. So what I've mentioned at the beginning, an NTSC system is running at the 60 FPS, and then a PAL system on 50. This is basically due to the power grid. Oh, they hit me again. And due to this, an NTSC system has to draw more frames, well, 10 frames more per second. And therefore, the CPU or the graphic chip has even more work to do compared to a PAL system, which often leads to differences in the resolution. And that's the same for the C64, for example. So the NTSC system has few less pixels than the PAL system, and that's the very same for the NES, for example. But usually an NTSC system runs a bit smoother because you got 20% more frames per second, and therefore it is often preferred by gamers. And usually this should improve your reaction or your ability, but sometimes, depending on how they have programmed the games, the game runs faster than on a PAL system, and therefore it is more stressful. I think our mission is to sink the boats. We ever made it to this point. And yes, and in Europe it is quite uncommon to have 60 FPS consoles or computers or something like this, except maybe for PC gaming, where it is kind of open-end nowadays. But most of the home computer systems and the consoles are PAL systems with 50 FPS or 50 Hertz. And depending on the game, there are games which aren't running on PAL systems, and this is a bit common for the NES as well. The Nintendo Entertainment System has some kind of region lock which can be avoided, by modifying your console. And interestingly, this region mod is helping with connection issues as well. So because there is some kind of copyright protection IC inside the cartridge, and the Nintendo Entertainment System is checking whether it has access to this copyright protection IC. And if you have connector issues, then it may fail to start as well. So kind of disabling the IC on the NES helps to run games which are a bit, let's say, reluctant to run. And then you have the chance to run games which aren't made for your region as well. But if the game is really, let's say, hard-coded for an NTSC resolution, or it is just relying on the 60 FPS or something like this, then they refuse to start as well. Usually end up with a gray screen, for example. And now they got me, but well, I made it quite a while through the game. And so I'm really looking forward to play some NTSC NES games on the Famicom, which requires some kind of adapter because they have a different pin amount, number of pins on the cartridges. And I'm just waiting for the adapter. I have ordered one, and then I will see what kind of games are running on the Famicom. So, second to last, and then we made it through. We made it through the stack of games, and it looks like I got some work to do to get some of the games to run. And this is probably going to be the hardest one here, except for the ones which we aren't doing anything at all. No, it won't do anything. So I really have to figure out how to open them. It doesn't feel like there's a hole somewhere. So maybe they just clicked together or something like this. So I think I better go and Google this before I go and break something. So let's go to the last and the biggest cartridge. And it is working. Oh, Son Goku. Some bad guy. This could be Vegeta. Some other guy. Oh, an RPG. So it's not an kind of action game or so. Maybe it has some fighting elements. But this is indeed going to be very hard to play when I have no idea what's on the screen. Whew. Oh, looks like we have to fight. I'm looking for the right words. I'm just trying to get used to a turn-based Dragon Ball fighting system. So I can imagine a lot, but not really a turn-based fighting system. So I mean, if you know Dragon Ball, you know it's kind of full of action. I mean, they do a lot of talking in between, and usually it takes ages until they start to fight. But when they start to fight, then they really fight. And with fighting, I mean they kind of destroying a whole landscape around them, and there's a lot of special moves and energy and all that stuff. So, but it's definitely not turn-based. So anyway, it looks like this is indeed turn-based. And I have no idea why I can control two of them. I would expect that I'm Son Goku and I'm doing something against this bad guy, but now I can control this other guy as well, so probably it's not as bad as I thought. But he's looking still much better than I do. And it looks like Son Goku is dead. I mean, we were too... Ah, damn it. We have to fight against those little thingies here. Ah, I see. And this is some kind of wizard, and he kind of draws life energy from them. Ah, okay. Oh, Son Goku is back again. Now we can pass the bridge. Okay, so it looks like I'm kind of able to figure out what I have to do here. Maybe not for every single scene, but well, let's just try to fight against this. Uh-huh. Now the other guy. Can't reach them. That's strange. Okay. This time they are not going to fight us. Son Goku can't move to the bottom of the screen. Oh, this looks like a Kamehameha. Ah. I have no idea why he's not moving. Okay, but he got a long pole, whatever. But I can do it again. Ah, wrong button. Ah, damn it. Anyway, we won. And yeah, basically that's my first contact with a Famicom. And it was very interesting to go through those cartridges, and it looks like I got a lot of work to do to bring them back to life, especially those 3 which are refusing to work at all. And probably the only game I am able to play is Super Mario Bros. And maybe Sky Destroyer was looking very promising as well. And the other games are, well, okay-ish, except for some language issues. And yeah, anyway, I'm very happy that it is working. It's not in very good condition, so I have to do some cleaning and have to do some refurbishing, and want to have a look on the inside. And well, let's see what this is going to be in the future. I think it's not going to be my main system, my preferred system, since it's NTSC and a lot of games are not going to work on this one. And I'm not going to start and collect Famicom games because, well, I got an NES, I got an EverDrive, and I already got a couple of NES games in original modules or cartridges. And as a European guy, it's probably going to be much easier to play, well, NES games. But as I said, price was so incredibly low, I really had to get this, and I'm really happy to see this in real life. I never imagined that it is so small, and it was really, really nicely built, so to say. And yeah, that's basically the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I'm a little bit sorry for the length of it, but it was a lot of things I had to go through here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your comments, and if you have any ideas, suggestions, whatever, feel free to express yourself. And if you want to be part of this whole experience here, if you want to have control over certain things of my channel, then feel free to join the YouTube channel membership. I really appreciate your support. And if this feels a bit foreign to you, then feel free to support me on Patreon as well. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. It's all in the description section down there. And well, thanks for watching. See you for the next episode. Bye bye.